Hey guys, cigars to guitars, and we're going to talk about music theory, blues theory, and I'm going to run you through it as fast as I can, but something that's really interesting if you're into that. If you don't want to watch it, don't care about it, then don't have to watch it, but I hope you do because it does give you a little bit of background and foundation about music and about the blues and what they call the 3 chords of the blues and the 12-bar blues. And so it's kind of fun to learn about. And where it all starts is the musical alphabet, right? A to G, and then it repeats over in octaves. A to G, A to G, A to G. And in between, you can see there is half steps from A to G, 12 of them. Some have sharps, flats, and the sharps and flats are the same, A sharp, B flat, just the same, whatever you want to call it. But notice, and this is important, there is no in between a B, C, or an E, F. And that's really important when we're going to go talking about the major scale and about different patterns and notes that make up the major scale. And so what we're talking about is the pattern for the major scale. We were happy when we were home, okay? And the W's are whole steps, and the H's are half steps. And so you start out with your root note as the 1, and you take a whole step to the 2, a whole step to the 3, a half step to the 4, a whole step to the 5, a whole step to the 6, a whole step to the 7, and a half step to the 8 or to the octave, your root note. And so that's how the major scale is formed. And so whether you want to remember we were happy when we were home, or whether you just want to remember the pattern, the root note, and then whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And where that plays out, let's take a look at the C major scale on the piano. And if you ever looked at a piano keyboard, all the white keys are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the black keys are those sharps, flats in between those notes. And so you'll see where if you just look at a keyboard, you don't even know where you're at. If there's 2 white keys together, that's either a B, C or an E, F. So you know that for sure. And the rest of it, you got to kind of figure out where all the sharps and flats are. But if you take a look at the C scale, you'll see that the C scale only has the C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And if you apply that pattern, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, it works out perfectly. There's no sharps or flats because you have the C whole step to the D whole step to the E half step to the F, which is the 4, okay? The F whole step to the G whole step to the A whole step to the B, and then the B half step to the C, which completes the octave. And so you see the 1, 4, 5, and that's what we're going to concentrate on, because the 1, 4, 5 are what people call the 3 chords of the blues. And so in the key of C, you have C, F, and G as the 1, 4, 5. And that's what makes up, those chords just kind of go together. And there's a lot of songs, tons of songs in blues music and early rock and roll music that those 3 chords are either the only chords in the song, or they are the main chords in the song that kind of holds the whole song together. So the 1, 4, 5 is what we're looking at. And you can also go to the G scale, okay? And you have the 1, 4, 5. In this case, it's the G, C, D, okay? So the G goes to the A goes to the B, then half step to the C, and then whole step to the D. So you have G is the 1, C is the 4, D is the 5, D to the E, and all of a sudden you have E to the F sharp. So that introduces your first sharp, G flat or F sharp, and then you have the half step to the G to complete the octave. So in the key of G, in all the key of G, there is one sharp or one flat, whatever you want to call it. But for the 1, 4, 5, it's still just G, C, and D, okay? And then we can do the same thing with the A. We start out with the A, and the A goes to the B, right? The B goes to the C sharp, and then the C sharp half step to the D, and that's the 4. So the A is the 1, the D is the 4, and then we have a whole step to the E is the 5. And then we have a whole step from the E to the F sharp, and then we have the F sharp to the G sharp, and then we have the half step to the A to complete the octave. So in the key of A, the 1, 4, 5 is A, D, E, but you do have how many sharps? You have 3 sharps. You have the C sharp, the F sharp, and the G sharp for the whole major scale. But again, we're focusing on the 3 chords of the blues, the 1, 4, 5. So in the blues, you take those 3 chords, okay, and where everybody puts them together for many, many songs is the 12-bar blues, okay? And you have 4 beats to a measure, and you have 4 measures of the 1, you have 2 measures of the 4, you have 2 measures of the 1, and then you have a measure of the 5, a measure of the 4, and then 2 measures of the 1. And that is like the standard 12-bar blues. So you look at the key of G, which is a lot of songs that we're going to be doing in our cigar box guitar, and you do 4 measures of the G, you do 2 measures of the C, you do 2 measures of the back to the G, and then you do a measure of the D, a measure of the C, and 2 measures of the G to finish off. Now, is there variations? There is, right? So like anything, there's a little bit of variation. In the 12-bar blues, one of the major variations is what they call the quick 4. So you go from 1 measure of the G, or the root note, and then you go to the 4 for a measure, and then you go back to the G, or the root, let's say, key of G, but you go back to the root, the 1 for 2 measures, then you go back to the 4 for 2 measures, back to the 1 for 2 measures, then the 5 for a measure, then the 4 for a measure, then the 1 for a measure, and maybe you go back to the 5 at the end for a measure. So it's these variations that make it interesting, and different songs have the quick 4. And you can listen to songs and you listen for that chord change right after the first measure, and you can maybe hear the quick 4, and then you can hear them going back to the 1, and then you can hear them change back to the 4 for 2 measures, and then back to the 1, and then you hear the 5, 4, 1 transition before they either stay on the 1 or they do what they call a turnaround and go back up to the 5 right there at the end, and then they do it all over again. And so the 8-bar blues is another variation. If you listen to songs like Key to the Highway, it's 8-bar blues, and there's a different pattern for that, but it's still the 3 chords, the 1, 4, 5, whether it's in the key of A, whether it's in the key of G, whether it's in the key of C, or any of the other keys, it's the 1, 4, 5. And then you got the 16-bar blues, and the 16-bar blues, like a song like My Babe, has 16 bars in each of the verses. And so, again, variations of the 3 chords of the blues. And so that makes it fun, makes it interesting. And when we're talking about our cigar box guitars, right, which makes it really nice is the fact that they're set up to make the 3 chords of the blues very easy. The 12-bar blues very easy, because this is the 1, in this case the G, the 5 or the D, and then the octave G. And so what you have here is the 1, the root note, the 5, and then the octave, which is the root note. but we don't have the 4 in these guitars. Very interesting. I'm not even sure why. It just works without the 4 and just the 1, the 5, and the 1. And so we make a G chord just like that, and it's the 1. And we can play the 12-bar blues, and we can kind of vary it up. We just do a little beat to it, like. And that's 4 measures, and then we go up to the C, and we can slide up to it. And back to the 1. Then up to the 5, and then the 4, and the 1. So the basics. If you want to do the 12 bars with the quick 4, it's like this. So that is the basic 12-bar blues, the basic 3 chords of the blues. We're going to be doing a lot more fancier stuff with it in the songs we play, but it's a great foundation for y'all, and just glad that you're a part of it, and we'll see you in the next video.